Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I am OHLEEN and this is my Who is Who series where I break down stories from influential people that are making headline today, serving as a timestamp, especially when it comes to things that are affecting Black people or the African continent, most especially the African continent, and also inviting your thoughts and comments on what it is we're talking about. And today we're talking Bill Gates. This is not the first time Bill Gates has made it on this channel. I have several videos about him and his foundations, and some foundations that are not so obvious but are pretty much his as well, and how they intertwine and link and influence what is going on the African continent. Today's video is about the IUD that he is launching, the new contraception initiative that he is launching, and he seems to be starting it on the African continent, and it has caused quite the reaction. And so yeah, let's talk about it. In case you're not aware, the Bill Gates or the Melinda Gates Foundation has pledged $2.5 billion to introduce an 8-year hormonal intrauterine device, which is what would be referred to as an IUD going forward, because intrauterine device is just long. It's not the first contraception to be launched on the continent, but this one is said to have arrived with so much noise, and it looks to have a very strong marketing budget and just strong influence in general, because after all, it's Bill Gates. He's been very interested in Africa for a long time, and anyway, let's keep talking. From what we know so far as of the making of this video, the countries that have said yes to the rollout are Kenya and Nigeria, and India is said to be on the plan. So obviously India is not on the continent, but those are the three countries that are, or Kenya and Nigeria definitely confirmed as it's going ahead, and India is said to be in the plans. I swear I saw, text somewhere confirming that India is one of the three countries and it's going ahead, but currently it's saying India is in the works. There's talks of it also going to India. There's a lot of, there are other countries that conversations are happening, I guess, and on the African continent they are Madagascar, Malawi, Congo, Senegal, Uganda, Zambia and Namibia. But Namibia's situation is again back to the India thing for me. So, but okay, a bit different. Namibia, there was official reports, national press reports saying that they had rejected or said no to this initiative, but the president came out and dismissed it as fake news. So now when you search anything to do with the IUD, when you search anything asking which countries have said yes, which countries have said no, that answer is not being answered when you search. But what comes up is Namibia, fake news. Even if you do not put the word Namibia in your search, what is coming up is fake news, Namibia, president said yes, fake news, fake news. So there seems to me to be a lot of cleaning up happening, a lot of tidying up the narrative and tidying up the information out there and making sure that it's all very positive and extremely informative and focusing on the benefits of this IUD. When you try to look up what is Ghana's decision in all of this, because again, I could have sworn I saw somewhere that said Ghana said no thank you to the initiative, but right now that's nowhere to be found. It seems to have disappeared from online, so it's very unclear, and there seems to be a lot of cleaning up the narrative going on, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but yeah, that's what I could see from the time of the making of this video and doing my research. Anyway, what is important to note is Africa already has contraceptive options, but yes, they are quite challenging in terms of they're expensive, they're inconsistent in supply, and most times or sometimes also location plays a part. So if we're trying to reach rural areas, remote areas, there is an issue. And so the Gates Foundation is said to be coming in to tackle this problem and present options for women and invest in women's health in a way that they're providing an affordable alternative. I couldn't find exact numbers as to what the cost will be to the person, so there's no direct sales. If you want one, you have to go to your local clinic and they will issue one. Again, couldn't find the details on what that cost looks like, but I'm definitely going to keep watching the space because it'll be interesting to see truly is it lower in cost compared to what already exists on the market, or is it just that this one will be pushed front and center regardless of whether it's cheaper than similar options that a clinic might offer. Another question for me as well is that always comes to mind is, why does it seem to take an outside person to highlight what we need to invest in on the continent? Women's health and anything else that needs to be more affordable, more accessible, it shouldn't take an outsider showing us how to invest, how to improve before we sit up and start asking questions like, why you, oh, population control, or we seem to be in bed with a lot of people from outside, and behind the door, are we making the best decisions for the actual recipient of, the decisions or the agreements you make? The key thing that keeps getting highlighted is this is more affordable, more accessible for lower to middle income women. And I think the affordability is coming into the makeup of this product, which is that it's a synthetic hormone called progestin. And also it's the economics of supply and demand. Africa and India are both very large populations, and the sheer scale alone creates a big market. And usually where there's volume, there is more flexibility with what the final price will be to the end user. So I want to assume, just using that basic business logic, that that's how that cost is being driven down. I have seen claims that the reason why Bill Gates is launching this in Africa when IUDs already exist that are even longer than 8 years is because the synthetic hormone was not approved in the US or in the UK. Upon doing my research, the UK and the US use contraception options that have progestin in them, that have synthetic hormones, a combination of synthetic hormones and naturally forming of natural hormones from animals. So let me know in the comment section if there's something I'm missing here, because it seems like we are already using, synthetic hormones in other options. And so it's not that it wasn't approved in the US or couldn't be approved in the US. From what I could see, that market is somewhat already saturated with companies that have been taken in by the government. So it makes no sense for Bill Gates to come and add his own there to compete with the market that is already satisfied with a product that is very similar. Africa, on the other hand, there are gaps, there is a supply and demand issue, and I guess my guy is tapping into it. It's just a shame that it takes an outside person, as I said before, but here he is. In case you are interested in knowing what are the alternatives to non-hormonal contraceptive options, because a lot of women have a lot to say about using contraception, like IUDs, anything that messes around with your hormones, the feedback tends to be not good. And actually, before I go any further on what the other options are, that is another issue that people have. This option, this IUD that is being rolled out, the effects, the side effects, the long-term effects, the short-term effects are not known. It's not clear. And when they are known, how would they be handled? And what version of the product will the African continent be getting? Will they be getting what is best for Black women living in Africa? There is what an environment does or demands from you that could alter what type of product works best for you. And I really do believe that it's wise to ask the question, will Bill Gates have your best interest at heart as somebody coming from outside in? There's a lot of issues around Bill Gates and his approach towards population, his approach towards supply and demand when it comes to food, and also the level of influence that he has. And so it's wise to ask the question, is this the best man to put the health of our women into his hands? The other options, in case you are wondering, is the copper IUD that has no hormones in it. You have the good old condom, and you can do a permanent sterilization, and you can also observe natural methods which involve you tracking your fertility window, so that in the times when you are fertile, perhaps you use a condom, and all the other times you do your thing. I know a lot of women have opted for the natural method because of the issues, the side effects that hormonal contraception has, and how much it interferes with their body in the immediate, in the short term, and in the long term. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. It's also been made a lot easier for you to track what is going on with your body. There's a lot of apps that offer support, and you can log in information, and then it can predict and help you in understanding what your body might be going through. The female body is very sensitive and it's very individual, which is another issue. The individualization of how women are, coupled with you being black, coupled with you being on the African continent, and like, have they kept all of this in mind, and will they continue to keep it in mind? And how is it being monitored? How can the average person see what is being done to monitor and maintain and keep the people, the African woman, as the priority on what the final product does? Again, a little sidetrack, tiny sidetrack. Because our bodies are so sensitive, my body is so sensitive, I have stopped using tampons, I have stopped using pads. Again, a personal choice, but it all ties into how sensitive the body is. And for me, what works is menstrual discs and menstrual cups. I have made videos about this when I was transitioning. I will never go back to pads in my life. I cannot. The material is just not good for you. And if I were you, if you're a female watching this, please go and research about discs, go and research about menstrual cups. I have a couple of videos on my channel. You can start there. There's several other content that does this topic justice, but it's a more involved way of managing your menstrual cycle, but it's a much more cleaner and safer way of essentially not introducing furthermore toxins into a very sensitive time already in your monthly journey. Okay, enough about hormones, feelings, and sensitivity. Let's talk money. Let's follow the money. The word donation, I've noticed, was floated around with this announcement quite a bit. And actually, when you drill into it, there is no donation. It's not really a donation. What's being offered is donation-like pricing structure. So it's not free. Okay, it's basically heavily subsidized through governments, through NGOs, and this is why an individual cannot go directly and buy this product. They have to go through their health clinic or pharmacy or whatever you call it where you're at. But essentially it's heavily reduced and heavily subsidized because it's come through an NGO. Another thing that I learned whilst doing research for this topic is that apparently governments can't actually say no to an initiative that has come through a local NGO or a big institution like the World Health Organization or the World Bank. I mean, the World Bank, not so much, because you don't go to them for lending. Let me know in the comment section if that is true. I see why that could be, because by the time it's now launching, the journey, you have been tying yourself in, you've been committing, you've been taking funding. By the time there's a product, it's too late to say no. I guess when you can say no is when the product is here and they're saying buy it, even though the research was not done in your country, or your organizations or your people didn't take funding to develop it and bring it into the country. But let me know in the comment section if that is true, that actually there is a way that you cannot say no to the likes of Bill Gates. This is besides influence, but this is besides the scale at which, you know, his foundation operates. This is why I was looking for how and why Ghana said no, because it's important to know how they did it, if they did it, so that in case another country wants the confidence to say no, they take the same approach. It looks to me like Namibia wanted to say no, but higher powers came and said, you must take this medicine. Anyway, I'm going to continue watching this story, but definitely please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do I feel about this announcement? I feel like our feelings are redundant. By the time such an announcement is coming out, work has been going on. What we need to pay attention to is what else is Bill Gates working on before, you know, he's bringing out the fake butter, the fake fish, the fake salmon, the fake mosquitoes that he's making. What else is he working on, so that before it is a final product, we have had a say, we have put positions that do not enable it to go any further? Because right now we are reacting and it doesn't look like there's much of a choice, and we need to call governments, African government bodies, into order if it is that you want a different outcome for your country. For Kenyans that have had their country or their government say yes, for Nigerians that have had their country, their government say yes, let me know your thoughts. I'm very curious. What do you think? How are you feeling about this decision? Anyway, I'm going to stop here. Thank you so much for staying to the end of the video. I look forward to getting into further discussion in the comment section. In the meantime, please stay safe out there, and I will see you in my next video.